You literally last year were playing teenagers and now you're a mom. So
I've been
wild.
playing a teenager for like my whole career, basically. So it's weird to go from backpacks to Baby Bjorn.
Kristen Maldonado here, and welcome to another episode of Pop Culture Planet, where we cover the world of entertainment while also shining a light on representation and inclusion. This week, we're joined by the hilarious, beautiful, phenomenal Jessica Marie Garcia, best known for On My Block and Batman Unburied. We're talking her career, uplifting Latinos in entertainment, and how to stand up for what you believe in. I hope you enjoy this conversation. I want to go back a little bit. I mean, where did you first find your love of entertainment? Did you kind of grow up dreaming of acting and performing? Where did that all come from?
Oh yeah, like from the womb. I'm an only child, so like performing and getting everyone's attention has been like my number one priority. I feel like it's like my love language. So acting has always been something I loved. And again, being raised by a single mom, like she worked all the time. So I feel like TV and movies were my babysitter. So I fell in love with it right away. But I noticed from a very young age that no one really looked like me. And that was jarring. I think it put a little damper on my dreams, thinking like, well, maybe I can't do this because I haven't seen it. But my mom has always instilled in me such a sense of like confidence that, you know, if this is what you want to do, then you need to be the best at it. So even at a young age, she was making me watch, like, I remember watching Gone with the Wind and Ben-Hur in one day. I'm like, Mom, I'm 11. I don't know if these were made for me, but I feel like these two performances kind of sum me up. Funny Girl, Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl, and then watching John Leguizamo in Freak. Those were like, I was like, I'm like two of these people. Like I wanted to have like this whole like grandiose musical number, even though I can't sing a lick. It's horrible. But that performance just meant everything to me because she wasn't this, you know, commercially gorgeous woman, even though she is to me, but like, you know, to the world. And then to see John Leguizamo, a Latino, like be center stage with that, you know, that spotlight on him and him be hysterical and have him speak a language that I understood. You know, like he was talking about chancletas and like, all, you know, and I was like, oh my God, like he knows what that's like. I know what that's like. And that was like the first time I was hearing this besides, you know, listening to telenovelas, but like it was completely Spanish. So I was like, I fall in this middle category. So I think that from the very beginning, I wanted to do this. Nothing else could stop me. And then when I didn't see myself represented, I would start getting scripts offline of like my favorite movies and I would write myself a part in them. And that like, no, for real. And that like sparked a love of writing for me. So I've always wanted to do both.
Oh, wow. And so have you been writing as well? And are you like working on anything in terms of that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. For Go Off, I helped write a couple of the sketches. And then I was on an all-girl sketch group called Betch. You can find our stuff on Amazon now. But I helped write a bunch of those. And then me and my really good friend Cole is my writing partner, and we've been developing a few projects. So hopefully you will learn about them soon if they get okayed by the higher ups in the world. So we'll see. But no, writing, I love it. It's a huge passion of mine.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. I love that. Going off of what you were saying of like not really seeing yourself on screen, like how did you then kind of jump into those opportunities of like, you know, getting auditions and getting booked? Like, did you ever feel like you were being stereotyped or people weren't believing in you? And how did you get past all that?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. I felt like I just needed specific outfits in my trunk, which were like a bully, a maid. Those were probably the two biggest ones. And I was always praying for all ethnicity breakdowns. So basically, for people that don't know, like those are breakdowns of parts that if they say all ethnicities, they're not specifically looking for a Latino. And I was looking for those because my Spanish is not great. And I know that somebody else would be playing those roles a hell of a lot better than me. So but I wasn't like this gringa, like I wasn't this like white, beautiful girl that was getting cast and everything else. So it was really important for me to find these breakdowns that weren't specific, but wanted somebody else that wasn't white. So I could be like, hi, I could be that. I could be your other in your script. So that's kind of what I was always gearing towards. And those were the roles that I was getting. Like, I don't think that I auditioned for something that was specifically Latino and booked it until On My Block.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Really?
hmm But yeah, no, I was getting stereotyped all the time. And I think even Jasmine could have easily been a stereotype, but the creators and the producers were really great with me and really sat down with me, and especially for season 2. Like I was telling them all along, I was like, the reason I can play Jasmine is because I know the pain it takes to be Jasmine.
Mm.
I know the pain it takes to be that funny girl, because comedy stems from drama.
Mm.
And
Oh, that is deep.
you know what I
Ooh,
mean? Yeah, no, but it's
yes.
real. It's real. Like, anybody that's like the class clown is probably dealing with a lot at home.
That is like such a unique way to look at that, to find that like depth in a character that maybe, like you said, could have been perceived as like a stereotype, and going even further with that. So when you're kind of like crafting your characters and stuff, like, is that what you kind of go into, is like, are you thinking about it in all these different ways?
Oh, absolutely. I was lucky that I went to a really great high school that had a performing arts magnet, and we really, dug deep into performances and characters. And then when I came out here, I had a fantastic acting coach named John Kirby who really taught me scene study and how to like dissect a character. Because I remember I did a scene in class where like I had to cry, and I was like crying, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so good, I'm crying. And he was just like, did you enjoy that? Was that a good time for you? Because people don't realize that like it's so easy to turn something like that on, but that doesn't mean that was correct for the character, that was, it's so easy to cry, but it's not easy to try and hold that back. When you're breaking down and you're trying to be strong, like that's the real struggle, and that's really actually much more interesting to see. So when I get a character, it really depends on how much I organically connect to them. And if there's something that I can easily connect in, I can kind of branch from there. But if it's something very, very different, then I have to attack it differently.
Do you have any examples of that?
There's so much of Jasmine that I like just innately connect with. But her overt sexuality was not something that I was very familiar with doing. Like, just like, as a teenager, just talking about things like that. She was like, she had no shame. And that for me was like hard for me. And I think with the middle, playing Becky, like she was very violent, and that's not necessarily something that I am. So it varies, but I've played a lot of comedic roles. I think that in this next chapter of my career, you'll see me play some more dramatic parts, hopefully, and you'll get to see more colors and like maybe more things that I could show that are very different.
Oh, I can't wait, because I mean, like you said with Jasmine, you did get to see some of those like more serious roles, and you killed those aspects as well, both the humor and the heart. So excited for whatever you have next. Yeah. Yes. And going back to like kind of what you were saying about some of the roles that you were being chosen for, being like a bully or a maid, things like that, and then kind of being able to see that change with the character Jasmine. Have you felt like you've seen a change in how Latinos are being represented?
Yes and no. I think that it's so hard because we're not a monolith, and there's so many different shades to us. And I think you get to see, and it's funny because I'm both of these things, but I think you've seen a lot of the Mexican storyline and the Cuban storyline, and I happen to be both of them. But I think that there's so many other countries that are not as much represented.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love to see more of that because I know less of their story. But I think that it's tough because I do see changes. I do see changes, but I think that it's coming from a place where people are not necessarily looking for a Latino for this. Like they happen to cast a Latino and then like see that, through their eyes and see how they can play a character without it just being there. We need a Latino character for this because it's a Latino story. I think that's where we go wrong because none of our stories are the same. You know if that makes sense.
No, totally. I mean, like, I'm Puerto Rican and Dominican, and I try to think like, what stories I'm like, West Side Story, Puerto Ricans. That's it. I can't think of any other ones.
Right? And how many Puerto Ricans were in the,
right, exactly. No,
Yeah.
100%. I feel like in general, in certain places, I see changes. Like, I feel like I see a lot of changes in Broadway where like people are being cast in roles that like you never thought you could be cast in that, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. Like I feel like there's been a bunch of like Legally Blondes being cast lately where they're casting like Black women as Elle Woods, and I'm like, wow, like,
hell yeah.
and like just seeing that and seeing when they make changes like that, you're like, wow, I had no idea that like maybe, I don't know, I could have seen myself in something like that. It's impactful. Like it does impact you, like at any age, to kind of see that and have that realization. Like just a small thing of like, just seeing a different person in a role can like really change how you feel about yourself and how, like about what's like possible for you.
That was America Fiera for me. Like seeing her in Real Women Have Curves, I was like, what? Like she's a Latina and she's curvy. Like, oh, maybe I can do this. You know, it's amazing how the power that representation has for so many that haven't seen that.
And I feel like you have inspired so many young people with your career. I mean, I know you were at the Gordita Chronicles, and I saw the interview where the girl in that show was just like saying how much you influenced her.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that and like kind of what that means to you?
I have been so blessed, and I'm going to try not to cry about this, but I've been so blessed to have this opportunity to, you know, live out my dreams, and the fact that it resonates with other people just blows me away, because I know what it's like to be that little girl that wants this so bad but doesn't think it's possible. So when anybody comes up to me and tells me that I've had that sort of impact on them, I do not take it for granted. I do not take it for granted, and it literally blows me away. When she was talking to me, she was just telling me how much she's watched On My Block, and she watched Liv and Maddie, and how that helped her believe that she could do this. And this is what stuck out the most to me, as she said that there wasn't something wrong with her. Yeah. And that, you know, that kills me, because again, like, we know what it's like to feel like there's something wrong with you. And there's absolutely nothing wrong. She is just everything. She is such a ball of light. And to think that I had anything to do with that, I'm just incredibly thankful. I'm very humbled by it. But it's a lot, because I just know what it's like to feel like that. I mean, there's still days where I feel like that. And I just hope that there's just even more representation for all of us, because the last thing I want ever is for my daughter to grow up and feel like there's something wrong with her.
And I mean, going off of that, I mean, you talk so much and use your platform so much to just like really spread so much positivity, you know, supporting body positivity, supporting, you know, that Latino representation. I mean, even most recently, you were supporting a Mexican-American owned bakery who was dealing with racism. How do you get that courage to, I guess, speak out and just like, you know, stand up for these things that you believe in?
I think it's because it's just about damn time. I think one of the hardest things I found in the Latino community is how much we don't support each other. You know, we do have so many different stories, and we're not all the same, but I think that we need to support each other in any way that we can, whether that's our street vendors, whether that's our local businesses. Like, I just think that we need to stand up for each other before anyone else. We can expect anyone else to do that for us. And I really look up to the Black community for doing that. And I mean, it's bad enough that there's such a lack of support for our Afro-Latinos in our community. And that's why I'm also so vocal about that, is the only way we're going to advance as a community is if we support each other, whether that's our shows, whether that's our businesses. And that's why I speak up, because I'm tired of seeing that. I'm tired of seeing a struggle, you know? And if I can just do a tweet and have that mean something, that's the least I can do.
Very, very powerful. It's like, it's a 2022. How are we not supporting each other, or in this place where like we can see all these different stories being told? You know, I do feel like you kind of look around and it's like every show that's getting canceled is one that's like led by Latinos, and it's like, where's the disconnect, right? I don't even know.
Because if we don't see our story told exactly the way that we lived it, we're done. We're over it. And we don't allow for any breathing room or any, you know, like any mistakes, really. Like, it has to be perfect or it's done. And that's what's so upsetting, because we've grown up watching all of these white shows and being fine with it. And it's like, why can't we have the same forgiveness for our shows? So it's upsetting, but I hope it's changing. I think it goes back to also, like, I mean, we can't even settle what we're going to be called. Like
right, yeah.
there could be an article about how Latinx is like changing the game, and we've raised $1 billion for our community, and all the comments will just be like, "What is a Latinx? And what is this? And what is Latinx?" And like, you know, all of these things, and it's like that's not the conversation. And the thing is I support whatever anybody wants to be called. If you are an old school person and you don't want, I understand that, but this is more than just an individual, that we're trying to encompass everybody and try and find a home for all of us. And the fact that we don't have any wiggle room with that, and we just focus on that, like Go Off, we did a sketch called Latinx Men, which we literally talked about how it's like this building is burning and people are dying, but we're not going to save them because we're like, well, what are we going to be called? Because I don't want to, yeah, I know that there's something going on over here that's, you know, life-changing, but what are we going to be called? You know, and I think that it speaks volumes on what's going on. Mm-hmm. And it just breaks my heart that like a word that's supposed to make people feel included is what's dividing.
Even that idea of like not knowing the language can like be so like
girl, people like stone me on the street. Let me tell you, right? You know, and I'm learning. I have my Duolingo. Like I'm really trying because I really want Selena to speak Spanish too. Mm-hmm. She's probably going to speak it before I do. My accent is just horrible, and that's the real problem. I can't roll my R's. I sound like a car stopping. It's horrible.
Same.
It sucks because I can't tell you how often I'm apologizing for it, or how someone will meet me and they'll start speaking to me in Spanish, and entiendo todo. So like people will talk to me in Spanish, it's perfect, but no, I'm probably going to respond to you in broken Spanish and mostly in English. Mm-hmm. And you see their heart drop. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're not one of us. And it's like, no, please don't do that to me. I have so many different Latin countries running through my blood. Like, stop. Like, don't do that to me. But I mean, it's tough. It really, really is tough. And that's another thing is just like with auditions is that, you know, if they're looking for a Latino, they want you to speak Spanish. And I just know that somebody lives in that better than me. And I would rather that opportunity go to somebody else than me book it and have my ass sound horrible, you know, on CSI, whatever, looking stupid. So, but yeah, no, it's really tough. And it's hard on me too. But Jolisa's she's trying to teach me. Like everyone's trying to teach me, but
no, I feel that I'm not good either. My husband is fluent and we'll practice a little bit. And then I'm like, you know, but I do it backwards. Like, you know how like everything in Spanish is really the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in like the way it would go in
English.
Me too. And I'm like, sorry, you knew what I was saying though, right?
Yeah. You're like, you got to do the noun first and then you talk about whatever it is. Yeah.
So now I want to get into some of the projects that you're working on now. Obviously you are starring on Batman Unburied, the podcast series. Tell us a little bit about that. And is that your first time doing like a podcast serialized show?
Oh yeah. And it was so baffling to me. I remember like my husband and I were like getting ready for bed and I just got this email and it's like Batman Unburied. It was like, we would love you. Like it wasn't even an audition. They offered this to me. Wow, and I was like, wait, what? You know who I am? Like it's still so baffling to me. Like people will talk to me and they're like, oh, like, you know, we said your name. And I was like, people know my name. Like it's like that'll never quite, you know, feel normal to me. But they asked me about it and they were like, would you mind? And I was like, are you kidding? To play Renee Montoya? Like what? I was taken aback, and my husband was like, he's a huge comic book fan and loves, you know, DC and Marvel and everything. And he was like, you have to do this. Like, you have to do this. And then I told my friends, and they're just as big of fans as he is. And they were like, if you don't do this, like they've told me before that they wanted me to play her. And I was like, oh, I would be like honored. So it was really mind blowing. And then I get there and Gina hadn't been cast yet. So I had to read with a male actor who was never going to be on this. So I didn't even know how she was going to do her character. So it was then a whole other nerve-wracking experience. Like, am I going to fit? Is it going to fit well together? Like we were not together. They hadn't cast her character yet. Mm-hmm. So I was so nervous. So, and then even more so, like, I'm sure it was tough for her because then she's reading off of what I said. And then I'm sure she felt kind of stuck having to react how I did. You know, so it was like, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And girl, like my face is like 99.9% of my career, like my eyebrows being like 100% of that. So I'm sure that math works. I'm sure it does. But so it was difficult, like doing everything with your voice. Like that's a whole other thing. Like, and I would love to do like animation and more things like that, but it is not easy. Like I gotta give, a lot of, praise to the voiceover actors out there because it is not easy.
But I gotta say, like, that cast though,
oh my God,
it's crazy. Winston Duke, like Hassan Minaj, Gina Rodriguez, I was like, what?
It's like all of them, and then it's like, oh yeah, and then
no! You were what I was the most excited about.
Oh, bless you. Oh, I was taken aback. The first person I knew was cast was Winston, and I actually got to meet him at a awards ceremony. We got awarded for the Italian Film Festival, which was like a really cool thing. So I stood next to him, and it's like, hi, how are you?
He's so tall.
Huge.
Oh my God.
But he's also like a giant teddy bear. Like he is the sweetest like human. So when I found out that he was gonna be Batman, I was like, oh, of course. Like that just makes the most sense. Like his voice is like so dominating. Mm-hmm. And yeah, no, he's killed it. And I'm actually really the most happy that everyone I know who's huge DC fans, like that's the thing is they have the biggest fans that will come for you if they don't feel like you would do it right. And they've loved the podcast. Like it's gotten really well received. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Cause like, that's a whole other thing is like you fall in love with a project, you do a project, and then you have no idea how people are going to react to it. So the fact that people love it is amazing.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Renee as a character?
Well, she's a badass. And I can't get over what a cool character she is to play because, she's got two different like problems, I would say, like problems, and also just what she's facing is that she wants to be a great cop. She's really good at it, but also she's struggling with trying to be there for Barbara, but Barbara's like on a whole other level, like going on doing her own things and doing her own cases at this point and talking to people that we're not supposed to be talking to. Like these are straight up villains that she's having whole, conversations and relationships with. And so that's difficult for Renee, but also I know so much more about her, like in the future. Like I know Renee and Barbara have a relationship later on in the comics. So I was also trying to like play with that as well. Mm-hmm. Thinking like, are we going to get there in the podcast? Like if we do this again, like, are we going to touch on that? And also Renee turns into the question. Mm-hmm. Which is like, oh, I want to do that so bad. So I'm like really, really hoping that we continue to do this and they don't like, recast me or something. Please don't. So she deals with a lot. Like there's a lot going on with her. And I'm just happy that they kind of like allowed me to be a little funny. I think they really wanted her to have like a little bit of, comedy underlying with all of the, copness. Mm-hmm. But no, she's a lot of fun. I wish that we were doing it for real. Like,
oh my gosh, I would love that. That would be an insane cast to see that in person. Oof. We got to put that into
I know. Can we do a petition, please?
Right? They'll be like, season 2, we'll put that on TV.
Right? That would be amazing. Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
I want to do a little bit of like a real rewind, go back to some of your projects and just like hear like maybe a little fun fact if you can share.
Sure.
Okay, let's start with Huge.
Probably the most nervous I've ever been in my whole life because it was like my first job really. And, I was working with Nikki Blonsky, who I just saw off Hairspray, who I was like, oh my God, she's a star. And then Haley Hasselhoff and, Gina Torres, like I was losing my mind and not knowing really anything about being on set. Like I didn't know like a mark is where I stand. And like, oh, this is my camera. So I really need to be like I should be really focused on this camera. Like that's the thing that when you're classically trained or when you're doing a lot of theater, like you don't really think about like your mark. Yes. But like positioning, like people don't really realize how much an actor is juggling, in a scene because they have to hit certain marks. They have to be facing certain ways while you're also thinking of your character and then all these words. It's not that easy. We hopefully make it look easy, but it's not. So that was the first time I was dealing with that. And Eric Stoltz was my director one time. And that was just like I was starstruck all the time and very, very nervous, very, very nervous. If you talk to Harvey, like he'll tell you, like I was a nervous wreck the whole time. He was like my like voice on that set. Cause like, I'd be like, I don't know. Am I allowed to eat? He's like, yes. Oh my God. Like, you know what I mean? Like I was very like, so scared.
The next one, let's talk Liv and Maddie.
The best experience of my life. I met my lifelong friends through that show that, I mean, they were all in my wedding. Joey was one of my groomsmen. Like John and Ron, who are the creators of that show, married me and my husband.
Oh my gosh.
Like they literally, that whole cast, that whole crew, I still talk to so many of them. It changed my life forever. And it's funny because they would tell us on set, they were like, this doesn't ever happen. Like this camaraderie, like this whole thing, like it's so rare. We're like, what are you talking about? Like it was like summer camp. Mm-hmm. Like we were working. Okay, sure. But we were really just having like the time of our lives.
Oh, I love that. I love that family that you guys created. That's amazing. Next up, How to Get Away with Murder.
Oh my God. Probably one of the biggest surprises of my career. Like I never in a million years, like when I got the audition, like that's the thing that's so funny about being an actor. And I know I go on these tangents, but like when you first start going on auditions, like you're just like sitting there and you're like so meek and you're so like scared about, you know, making any choices. And then you see like these casting directors and they'll come out and they'll be like, Sarah, oh my God, nice to see you. And then you're like, oh great, well, Sarah's gonna freaking get it. Cool. You know? And then I became that. And like people would be like, oh, Jessica. And I'm like, oh, hi, we're friends. Okay, great. And going on audition for that, like they're like, oh, we love your work on My Block. And I was like, wait, you know who, like what? Like, you know who I am? Like you cast for freaking How to Get Away with Murder. So auditioning for that, I just felt so much more calm. And that changes, you know, everything in a performance. You can tell I'm kind of neurotic. So I auditioned for that. And then being on set was just life changing. Like I remember the first day having a PA take me from like my trailer to set, and they're like, "Hold on, we're just gonna wait like 1 second for Viola." And I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "I'm gonna walk with Viola. Like Viola doesn't have like her own like men that carry her like to her like Viola Davis. Like what?" And she was just the most normal, the most humble, the most incredible human you've ever wanted to meet. Like when they tell you you don't want to meet your heroes. Like, I totally understand that, but she was one that you would definitely want to meet. Like, she was everything you want her to be. And I was going through such a hard time. I think I was planning my wedding, and my mom had a massive heart attack 8 weeks before my wedding, and we almost lost her. So she went into heart surgery, open heart surgery, during the week I was supposed to have my biggest episode with, I was supposed to have a whole fight with Viola. Like, it was a whole thing. And I turned it down because I was going to be by my mom's side. Like I was not gonna, you know, and they were so incredible to me. Like they didn't write me off. They like were keeping tabs on me. Like, how is she? Like they didn't, no one had to do that. And they were all incredible. And I remember Viola like sat me down and was like, everything's going to be okay. She's going to be fine. And I was just like, it was such a surreal situation, you know? So I had an incredible time on that set. Like everyone was really so good to me.
Next one is On My Block.
Obviously, the most life-changing of any job I've ever had. And I will thank that show till the day I die because Jasmine was my favorite character I've ever played. Aww. But I also got an entire family from them. Like the 5 of us or the 6 of us were just inseparable, and we still talk. And like I'm having dinner with Jason on Friday. Like we still hang out all the time, which is so nice because we're all doing so many different things. They were all like the brothers and sisters I wish I had growing up, you know? And the difference between them and Liv and Maddie was that culturally we understood each other on a level that I wasn't getting from them. No shade. They're great, but they're white. So I just kind of got this camaraderie and this familia that I didn't really ever have. So that was is just priceless. And again, I still like see them all the time, even the producers and everything. I'm trying to think of like a story I could tell that is even PG enough for a podcast, because like we're a mess. But PG-13, right? No, but we just had the greatest times. You know, it's just sad that our last season had to be during COVID, so we couldn't, you know, have all the camaraderie that we're used to. But I found out that I was pregnant with Selena the last day of filming.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yeah, the very last day. Funny story there is that Brett told me as soon as I got married. We were actually the first wedding he'd ever been to, and he was like a crying mess, and he'll deny it, but we have pictures. But he told me as soon as we got married, you got to be pregnant next Thursday. You better be pregnant next Thursday. And every Thursday he'd be like, are you pregnant? You better be pregnant next Thursday. And he was the only person I told the day I found out. And I was like, okay, so I'm only telling you, but I'm pregnant. And he was like, and it's a Thursday. And he was he was like crying, like it was like a whole thing. But yeah, no. And then we rented a house, I think, right after filming to kind of like have a real goodbye for all of us because of COVID. We didn't have a wrap party. We didn't have anything. So it was kind of like really sad that we didn't have that time to be with each other. So we got a house, an Airbnb, and we spent the weekend together. And I told them each individually that I was pregnant. And I should have filmed it because it was so fun.
Aww.
But yeah, no, I miss those little jerks.
I actually saw Brett at the Stranger Things red carpet, and he gave me a message to send to you. So I don't know what it means, I guess.
Oh, God.
Maybe with context, but he just says, "Thank you for giving back the car." So,
what is that? I should have kept that damn thing. He kept his car at my house for, oh my God, almost a year. Like almost a year. It was just parked outside my house. And like we would wash that thing because it would get so like dirty. There would be like spider webs coming out of the tires. Like it was insane. But no, he kept it here forever because he's, bi-coastal and he's mostly in Philly. So he's very rarely here. And he was like, I don't know what to do with my car. I was like, I'll just keep it at my house. Thinking it would be like a month or two, like not like an entire year. Like I'm freaking starting that thing up and moving it back and forth so it doesn't just completely die.
Yeah.
It was like having another kid. But no, yeah, he didn't pick it up. His people picked it up. It was the most bougie. Like they called me. They were like, well, are you available for us to pick up the car? If not, you can leave the keys in your mailbox. And like, I'm like, who are you? Like, who am I giving your keys to? Like, no, he's bougie. He's got people now. But yeah, no, he's lucky he got it back. It was cute.
Too funny. Yeah, he was like, yeah, if you're gonna talk to her, this is the message you got to send her. I was like, okay, sounds good.
That's hilarious.
For the last one, Diary of a Future President.
The show that should have had 100 more seasons.
It should have.
Basically,
it really should have.
I'm so mad about that, honestly. So mad about that because I feel like this show was something that I wish I would have had growing up. And also I know that so many people, especially in the LGBT community, would have loved to have seen growing up, especially as a Latino struggling. Our culture isn't necessarily the most welcoming with those that are coming out of the closet. So the fact that we had a character whose family was embracing him and like encouraging him to be himself is just so beautiful. And we need more shows like that, especially to watch with our families. Mm-hmm. So it was really heartbreaking that it's not continuing, but I thought it was a beautiful show. I loved everybody on that show. It was a Latino show that had like Latinos in front of the camera, behind the camera. It was and working with Celanese was a freaking working with the masterclass, like she's amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it breaks my heart. It really does.
Yeah, that show was great. That last season with like you said, the storyline with Celanese and her son and like him coming out to her was like so beautiful. Your beautiful love story that you got to have.
I know, I didn't get to get a wedding.
Right, that would have been beautiful.
I was supposed to have a wedding. God, Disney, what are you doing?
Man, I'm telling you, they cancel all the good shows. They cancel all my favorite ones.
I know. That's how I felt about One Day at a Time. I was like, that was like the show me and my mom would be like waiting at, all the time for. Like we would get in our robes and we would just like get Portos and we would just watch. Mm-hmm. And I love that show so much. We should have a moment for all of our shows that we love.
The Latino shows that we love and have lost. Julie and the Phantoms. Anybody?
I know.
That was a great one.
That's like if when Netflix posts anything, it just goes Julie and the Phantoms, Julie and the Phantoms, like then like Annie with an E, and then Julie and the Phantoms, Julie and the Phantoms.
It's true. It's very true. I want to jump forward a little bit to what you have coming up next. I know you've mentioned writing, and I mean, obviously you're busy with your beautiful daughter, but like where can we see you next? Like what are you working on?
Well, I actually just finished a short film with Annie Gonzalez. She plays my sister. It's called Legally Brown. Gabby Lugo is the director writer of it, and it was the best experience. It was the most fun I think I've had in a hot, since I gave birth. It was like my first project coming out, because that was so fun. Mm-hmm. But we hope to, see that go somewhere. We're, crossing every finger that it becomes an actual feature. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that will. And, we're producing that as well. I've been dipping my toe in some producing. I want to, be able to do everything. I want to write, produce, direct, star, all of the things.
Yes. Oh, I love that for you.
Oh yeah, no, I love every aspect of filmmaking, so I just want to be a part of it all. Because even on Liv and Maddie, like I would shadow other departments, because I think as a good director, you know every department and what they do and what you should expect from them. So I like to just be like, well, I'm not working this week. Can I shadow the DP or the AD? Or you do not want to be an AD. That is the hardest job ever in life. Just point that out to anybody listening. It is very, very hard. But yeah, I'm doing that. I have a couple projects in the works as far as films that I can't really say too much because we're in the very early stages of it. And then I'm developing a series for myself that I can't say too much about, but I really hope you all will love it and not let it get canceled after one season.
Can't let it get canceled. We got to support.
Please.
Where can people find you online? Where can people follow you, see what you're up to?
Mostly my house. I don't leave, but I won't tell you where that is. But on Instagram, I'm at Jess_M for Marie_Garcia. On Twitter, I'm at Jess Marie Garcia. And then on the TikTok, I'm at Jess Marie with only Mari Garcia. Because there's like other people pretending to be me. I'm like, y'all, let me get one and then you can pretend to be me. You know, not that my name isn't like not the most common name you've ever heard in your life, but
I want to thank you so much for your time. This has been incredible, getting to learn more about you and about your career and all of the incredible things that you're doing.
Thank you for having me. I'm just like with the baby so often that I'm like, oh my God, an adult human. Hello.
Let's talk. Big thank you again to Jessica for joining us on this episode. I had so much fun catching up with her. You can watch the video podcast at youtube.com/kmaldo, the audio version on any of your favorite podcast listening platforms, or get more insight at our news outlet, popcultureplanet.net. You can keep up with the podcast by following me pretty much everywhere at kmaldo or the show at popcultplanet. Get your own Pop Culture Planet merch at teespring.com/stores/kmaldo. And if you enjoy the episodes, consider subscribing so you know when a new one is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with your fellow pop culture lovers. Thanks for listening. It's been a blast, and I'll catch you in the latest episode. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and if you want to talk more TV and movies with me outside of the comments section, check out the exclusive Discord available on my Patreon at patreon.com/kmaldo. If you like this one, you can check out more of my videos right over here. See ya!